Enter madman, stage left. The audience rises and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. The curtain rises and the players come out. Webs of light spinning from their mouths. Stop looking, listen for a little while. Pay no attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste of your terror and your sorrow bathing in your blood. It's never enough. Program reality, double thing duality. Put upon the face of all.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Thursday, March 7th, 2024. I am joined via the magic of Skype by Aaron Armageddon. We're going to get into some news and current events with you tonight. We're so glad you joined us. If you would, like the video on YouTube, on X, share it with people who live, especially in the Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia area. But we got viewers nationwide, and we're going to get into some nationwide stories tonight, as we usually do, because even though the local stories affect us the most, we still got to pay attention to what's going on in the world around us. But with that said, like us everywhere. We're on Rumble, X, and YouTube, streaming live. If you would, follow us on all those places. So if we get taken down, which we sometimes do, you can check us back wherever else we're at. How's it going, Aaron?
Going good, man. Thursday night, ready for it.
Yeah, buddy. Well, we got a lot of stuff to get into, so let's go ahead and kick it in. Y'all join us in the chat. Unfortunately, if you're on the X, for some reason, I can't respond in the chat, but I think I can see it. But we'll see how that goes. My chat window's acting up right now, so I think I might be only able to see YouTube chat. But either way, jump in there and let us know what you think about these stories. You can also email us at the ironmountainhour@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear your ideas about anything we say, about anything we're doing on the show, about anything you'd like to see on the show. We are going to be organizing in the very near future a few events. We did the Second Amendment Appreciation Day last year. It was a lot of fun. We had, 15 viewers of the channel come out and shoot some guns with us. We took over the whole gun range. It was a hell of a lot of fun. Had a nice assortment to choose from, about anything you wanted. But anything you could think of just about was down there. It was a lot of fun. So this year we want to also do, I know some of y'all like to do some off-road trail riding. Not anything crazy, but just go for a ride in the woods. And we're also going to do some trash pickups up around Watauga Lake, especially. That such a beautiful place. I've often remarked I can't understand how someone who can enjoy nature's beauty in that area can, yeah.
I get it. They do it up here in the Smokies too, man. It drives me crazy. They'll junk it up, you know.
Like, if you appreciate it that much, if you appreciate it enough that you want to go spend time at it, whether it be hunting or fishing or camping, whatever it is that you do, how can you not appreciate it enough to not throw your beer bottles or your cigarette butts out, man? I just don't get it.
Yeah, actually, the local news here in Knoxville, they had a thing about it. Last year, the Smoky Mountains had more visitors than it has ever had. And the garbage definitely, represents that.
Yeah.
That's what they were talking about. The issue is that it's kind of hurting the community. It's kind of hurting nature a little bit around here and stuff. But
well, I mean, I was doing some off-roading up on around what's it called?
Bumpus Cove.
No, it was around South Holston Lake, and yeah. I started noticing that they had a lot of the trails closed, and they had a lot of the gates shut. But not only the gates shut, because if you're in a good off-road vehicle, you can go around the gates pretty easily. But they've taken these boulders that I don't know how heavy they must have been, but these boulders are like 4 feet, round, and just dropped several of them in front of these gates so you can't go around them. And I was like, why in the hell are they doing this? But as I went around that, trail and back around the main loop, I started noticing it looked like people had just taken and unloaded a full truckload of garbage up there. And, the dump is literally like 5 miles from where you turn in there.
Yeah,
What's up,
it's
Dalton? Glad to have you in the chat, brother. And you can hear us tonight. Thanks, right?
Yeah.
Always something at the Iron Mountain, but Dalton's always here to poke fun at us, and like I said in the last episode, that mockery is important because if you're acting like a dumbass and you nobody mocks you for it, you're probably going to continue to act like a dumbass. So definitely call us out and check us on our BS if we do serve any up. Let's get into the stories of tonight. So to start off with, this is from Elizabeth and Carter County Priority News and Alerts here in Elizabeth and Carter County, where the Iron Mountain is, where we call home. 911 received a hang-up call from the Carter County Mansion, from the Carter Mansion. Wonder if these ghosts are playing games tonight. All EPD units responding. Update, to confirm it really was a ghost, they called from a landline. Carter County Sheriff's deputies are backing up EPD. We know you were afraid. Don't blame you, though. We aren't going to no haunted mansion alone either. And update 2, EPD just asked dispatch if they have attempted to call them back. Dispatch advised no answer. It was busy before now. Why? Because it was ghosts making prank phone calls. Update number 3, EPD advising all units clear, no contact with the caller. And this lady down here has to ruin our fun by saying it could have been a spoofed number. And I like to pretend it was a ghost. So we're just going to go with that. How about that?
Yeah, if they've been like moving stuff around in there, or something, who knows? It's pretty wild.
Same exact situation in PA. Dalton says old routes blocked off with boulders because of people littering and spray painting everything. Yeah, it's a damn shame. But yeah, honestly, it's like I can't really blame them to that. Obviously, I don't want the authorities blocking me from enjoying what is supposed to be public land, but I also don't want assholes ruining it either. So Dalton says it used to be a spot called the White Rocks, where there were big white rocks sticking out of the top of the mountain. It was a cool spot. Now it's harder to get because it's boulder blocked. Yeah, you have to go on foot. And well, that's a good thing about a lot of people who throw trash on the ground. They're generally lazy, not always, but
yeah,
it's so that if you have to walk to get to it, they might not find as much trash. But I'll tell you, like you were talking about the Lost Cove, there was trash all the way out there. It was random. It wasn't all the time. But anyway, let's go on to the next story. We've got this one from. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do want to point out this is from because this is kind of like just more drama than anything from our local state, state stuff. But State Rep David Hawk called for the resignation of Ballard CEO Alan Levine after a heated exchange. Apparently, they got into, almost a physical altercation. Hawk says that Levine grabbed him by the shoulders, and put his hands on him physically, and they yelled at each other, for a minute. And apparently, it was over Hawk calling out some bad stuff from Ballad Health to the media, and Levine was saying, well, why didn't you come to me with that instead of going straight to the media? And Hawk, apparently was saying that it was because he'd had a lot of people confide in him of Ballad employees, and he didn't want to cause them undue hardship because they were afraid they'd be targeted for speaking up. So that was why he went to the media and just talked about it anonymously. And so anyway, we're not going to get into all the drama of that because most of this article, and it's about a 15-minute read, is just, well, I said that this happened, and oh no, Hawk said this happened, and this other guy who was there said this happened, and they all and basically it's just what it boils down to is the two men started yelling at one another. But why were they yelling? Because Hawk said Ballard sucks and he should resign, apparently, or he says he should resign now after he put his hands on him. But anyway, the reason I bring that up, Carter County, the Health and Welfare Committee passed a resolution Tuesday night to help get county leaders on the table with state health and legal officials regarding their concerns about ballot health. And the main thing is, it gets around to basically they closed the ICU. They already closed one of the neonatal ICUs that was over there in Kingsport. Basically, when Ballard came in and took over the hospital system, they merged with Wellmont, whom, the community had actually stood up behind Wellmont because that was the only option, the only alternative to Ballad Health, and then Wellmont folded and sold to them. But it's not as simple as that, was it? Because really, in order for that to happen, Ballad had guarantees and assurances from state and local governments all over the place, and that was how they were. So this was not like a free market exchange where Ballad had the best business and did the best health care and the best customer service for the best prices, so they won out. No, it was Ballad made deals with the government to where they could pretty much force themselves to be the only person in town, and now the government are getting calls from their constituents saying that our health care is all fucked up and it's Ballad's fault, and then the government is going back to Ballad and say, this is all your fault. Well, congratulations, you played yourself, you all did it. So the Ballad wouldn't been able to get to the status they are of just totally dominating the healthcare in the agency without the cooperation of the state, local, and regional governments. So that's what I have to say about that. And Carter County, Tennessee here, they are, at least the Health and Welfare Committee is not even made it to full commission or anything, but the county commission has voted to, profess a lack of confidence in the healthcare and that we need to do something about it. And they're basically taking it up to the next level to the state. There is what they're attempting to do. So anyway, the amount of surgeries that was in the hospital there in Elizabeth increased, but then they get rid of the ECU or ICU, so they needed more critical care units, but they're more critical care, but then they closed the ICU. So anyway, and then you also had the only other medical game in town. They across the street from them, Dr. Hoplin and Medical Care there. They eventually merged with Ballad Health. So it's like everywhere you tried to go to avoid Ballad Health, like I had 3 doctors in a row that got absorbed by Ballad Health that were good doctors that, that once they got absorbed by Ballad Health, I either, was not able to go to them anymore, or, they weren't able to do the same kind of practice as they were. So anyway, I've got personal beefs against Ballad, and I'm not the only one. But let's move on to what I think is the most optimistic story tonight, and this is why I say this is the way. And we've got the family to open market at Boone's Creek Farm. Now, what exactly is this? Is it just, it could just be people opening a new business. And they, are part of their advertising blitz. They're getting a favorable story written about them in the newspaper. I don't know. But either way, I think this is a good thing. They've called themselves, Jeff and Leslie Rogers of Johnson City are calling themselves Family. I'm sorry, let's see, where'd it go? Family or Faithful Fields Farms, right? So what they're doing is they were looking for a better way to raise their kids, and they wanted to find a better way to do it. So they moved out of the suburbs and they started looking at regenerative farmings, and they started raising lambs, turkeys, and chickens to provide organic options for the community. And he said the idea is to involve the neighbors as much as possible. And he's talking about doing things like having kids come and learn to collect eggs and do farm chores and all the things that, a lot of these kids don't do these days. But the main thing is this is community, right? This is what's really important, is in order to make America great again, you're not going to vote your way into it. It's about doing things on the local level. It's about making your own community able to govern itself in the lack of something else, or independent.
Waiting on the feds to do it,
Exactly. So I'm definitely a fan of. Whoops, that's the wrong thing.
Let's be clear, they never will.
But the Faithful Fields, I'm definitely a fan of this kind of thing. And it's not, okay, this guy is not going to do it all on his own, right? But the idea that, we're going to have we're going to take a leap of faith, and we're going to do something to try to get the community involved, let's build a sense of community again. Let's build cooperation again on the local level. Let's get to know our neighbors. That's what's really more important than who you vote for. Ultimately, you can vote for whoever you want, but at the end of the day, when they mess things up and you're not able to get food at the grocery store, what are you going to do? You're going to have some sort of skill or some sort of usefulness to be able to, provide something in exchange for what you want to get out of your community. So if you're not able to grow food, well, you better be able to do something. And if you want to learn to grow food, then now's a good time to do it. Not after all the food is not ready, or not after the
Well,
economy is such that you can't find gainful and meaningful employment enough to support your family. So you have to supplement with this kind of stuff. So now's the time to learn to do it. So I think this is the
when it hits
way.
the fan,
And
everyone's all the deer in the neighborhoods, so that's an issue too. So yeah, like you said, you need to be able to grow vegetables and all that stuff, and there's so much to it too. You can have a garden, but if you don't know how to keep the rabbits and squirrels and critters out of your food, and the bugs,
yep.
you know what I'm saying. There's just so much more to it than just throwing seeds in
And
the
you have to
dirt.
learn to skin and process. And I saw this bright ass,
Hedge
these
first.
yeah, well, that's the very first thing. But one of these what they call midwits, these people who are educated, and they're probably slightly smarter than slightly above average intelligence, but they're still, they have no applied or no applicable knowledge. It's all stuff that they read, or stuff they
When
learned
the
in school.
crime
And
happens, they'll go crazy and they'll ransack and loot and kill and rob and steal. And the really dumb people are going to be doing stuff that they don't necessarily need at first. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yep,
a lot of people are going to be looting the stores and clothing stores and what good is a diamond watch going to do you in a collapsed society where everyone wants to kill you? That's the last thing you're going to want to have on your wrist is a diamond watch. You know what I mean? In a post-apocalyptic situation, or whatever, some kind of martial law situation, and that's the main thing. If the crap hits the fan, my suggestion and what I will be doing is hanging tight for that's why you need to have at least 2 weeks supply of food. And that reason is because when that 2 weeks supply of food is up, that's when you need to go out. When all the crazies have killed each other for the most part, and you let the herd thin out.
well, I
Because
mean,
if you
I'm not even talking to that, because that's something that worst case scenario we have to face. But I'm saying, even in the event of,
so people know how to do it. So
right, like, well,
talk about,
basically you're trying to avoid that worst case scenario for your area by going ahead and starting this community where people work together and recognize the situation that we're in, and go ahead and start. It's as simple as like you and your neighbors working together. Like me and my neighbor, we share his equipment, and both do a garden for now. And neither one of us are raising any meat or anything, but that would be a good thing to do. But
if the
the main
crap
thing
hits
is making those connections with your neighbors, though. I think that's the most important part. So I think that's
like
what
we said
Chad is
earlier,
smiling about here.
you got to have the flea market and the farmers markets.
You're right.
Crap hits the fan. Those are gonna be. I mean, that's gonna be banging. You know what I mean? That's gonna be the place to be. When Walmart's not open.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're right about that. That's a good example of community, because there's nobody down there in the flea market, running things or anything. I mean, yeah, the people who own the flea market have their rules, but there's nobody walking around, overseeing all these transactions and everything.
It's like a little community already. I love the flea market. I love the Tri-Cities flea market, and I love the Smoky Mountain flea market also. And I go to the flea markets all the time. I love them. When I go through there, people know me and my son. Like, it's a community. It's like you're saying, and like but I think it's really awesome what this family's doing with this farm, and they're getting people thinking more independently in how to take care of yourselves, be self-sufficient. That is key. Be self-sufficient and be prepared.
I don't know what's up with the internet. We're dropping a ton of frames, like over half of our frames for some reason. But we'll try to continue on here. Hopefully the audio is still coming through. But we got ultimately your farmers market, your flea market, your community swap meets, neighborhood stuff. That's what's really going to get us through. That's really what's going to make America great again, more than voting for anybody. Let's go on. I don't know if this is a good note or a bad note, right? But we got you were talking about things hitting. This is definitely before. And I don't know if we're going to end on a good or bad note. I say this one is definitely not a good thing. But you've probably seen in New York City that they are bringing in the National Guard to the subway. And this is indicative of when martial law happens. Like it's probably not going to be, or if it happens, it's probably
There
not
won't
going
be
to be
no
like one
election.
day, huh?
There won't be an election, or if there is, that'll be a reason for them to use mail-in ballots again.
But
Okay, we've got curfews. You can't be out at this time.
but I don't think they'll just like. I don't think Biden will just come out and be like, okay, we're under martial law. It's going to happen gradually, and that's how
Oh,
that's
he
how they've got us everything over the last my whole
some
life.
other
If they
goon will
little
come
bit
out
at
and
a
do it.
time. Do what?
Some other goon will come out of the woodwork and "Ooh, oh, we think it's just best for our community, even though they've like caught federal
Well,
buildings
see,
on
that's what's already happening right now.
summer rage, and
Kathy
they
Hochul
didn't
up
do
in New
martial
York
law.
is already bringing these guys out, and that's exactly what she's doing. She's the governor, and she's deployed these National Guard in the subway. Why? Because people are pushing people into the subway. They're attacking the conductors. Somebody whacked a dude with one of them with a bottle. Somebody slashed a cut subway conductor in the neck in Brooklyn. 2 days later, two commuters were attacked by men wielding a hammer in Queens. Another, just after this announcement, was smashed in the head with a glass bottle. And that yeah, and they put Daniel Penny, the guy who put this guy in a sleeper hold, the crazy guy who was threatening to kill people, who was a known person with mental illness. Everybody on the train was talking about they were in fear of their life, and this guy gets arrested, and we don't really have
Clown,
any updates. But last we heard, he would sought a dismissal, and they'd put him off. But
clown world. It's like when Mr. Freeze takes over Gotham City. It's like he's like you can't ride the subways, and there's just like some guy hanging from his underwear from a light pole. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
on fire, his legs on fire, and there's just
crazy.
chaos.
Yeah, it really is. It
There's just
reminds me of
vibes of everything.
It reminds me of the crazy New York that you'd see. I never experienced it in the 80s, that you'd see in the 70s and 80s on movies where just, people, just big fires burning everywhere and you couldn't walk anywhere without getting, just shanked or robbed or whatever. But anyway, I've not been up there, but I'm just saying the point is that their National Guard troops there right now. So this is how they do it. They don't have the president come out and say, hey, we're under national, under martial law now. No, just like everything else, they do a little bit at a time to get you used to it, and then they do a little more, and there's some pushback, but then, everybody eventually septics, and then a little bit more. So that's how they'll ultimately get to that if that's what they want to do. So that would be a step in that direction. And from what I saw, I did a little look up a little bit about Daniel Penny, and he is still, just on hold. So they just put him off when he sought to dismiss it.
Yeah, it's just lawless, lawless, feckless. Everything's lawless because of feckless policies and failed policies. It's all intentional. Of course, There's a
I think it's a combination of intentional and useless idiots who, help
well, somebody's
facilitate
got to
it by
do
trying
it.
to do the right thing.
They need stupid people to do their bidding.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you'll
they
put on the t-shirts and get on the bus and go to the.
go do the protests and all that good stuff.
Like the State of the Union speech was tonight, and with Joe Biden and they were the Biden's legacy is genocide, but it was all orchestrated. Everything was nice and like freshly printed, and if that had been unorganized, it wouldn't have happened. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't have let those people nowhere near that place.
Well, that's an interesting point. I didn't see that, but
They still
it's
protested.
not like they're
Oh,
letting MAGA people
it's-
in to protest, right?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah. Well, we already know what happened with that,
Hmm.
but that's what I'm saying. You weren't going to see the MAGA movement like that out there, but it's just the controlled opposition. They don't want everybody talking about the open border and the issues like you're talking about, like New York City's so bad that they literally have to call in the National Guard to hang out in the subways. It's like really, it's like at that point people can't get to work, and it starts affecting your infrastructure, and it starts affecting everything. It's a snowball effect. It's the butterfly effect. One little thing like that, make everybody late for work. every day this week because some guy bit somebody, or I don't know. I'm sure it'd take more
Yeah.
than that to stop a subway, or probably get, like you said, get shoved, or it's just not good.
Yeah,
And
people
what
are
people,
getting.
and they're emptying the prisons in South America and all over the world, and they're sending them here. So that's why a lot of them are mentally ill. They're severely mentally ill. They're getting flown and bussed in, and they show up and they're just wide open. Welcome to the jungle, baby. Now, the South American countries, it's not a burden on their taxpayers anymore. It's a burden on us.
Yeah,
And
and
what I
it's being spread out all over the country too. A lot of people are saying, "Well, why does like there was the clip of Rachel Maddow and Jen Psaki talking and saying, "Well, why does Virginia care about the border?" And it was funny to them, and it's like because every community is becoming overwhelmed now. It's not just the southwestern
yeah,
states like it was in Florida. It's spreading out all over the country, and even right near her, there was like somebody brought up there was a 2-year-old boy who was killed by an illegal immigrant like that week, like just right down, I think it was like 30 miles from where Jen Psaki lives. So it's even touching, she's up there, and I'm sure in Arlington or Washington, not Washington Heights, but like Brooklyn Heights or one of these fancy neighborhoods in Washington, D.C. And probably, just kind of in her ivory tower, really thinks it's no big deal. And I guess if you're a millionaire and multimillionaire and you're in the political establishment and all your advisors are,
we have
telling
armed
you everything's okay, you might really believe that, but
You
I
don't
don't
have to
think she
worry.
does.
You don't have to worry about people breaking in your house in the middle of the night. Well, I guess Pelosi and them did, but they let that guy in.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know what I'm saying?
some
Sure.
speaking of that, somebody right down the road from here, I saw on Scanner Food, somebody tried to break into a car, just probably, I mean, really, really close to the studio here, and the homeowner came out shooting at them. So I highly doubt they'll be breaking
Yeah.
into any more cars in this area. A lot of people were saying,
Well,
"Oh, they what if they hit an innocent person?" Like, well, if they're shooting at the person breaking their car, they're not shooting at an innocent person. You never know; they might have a firearm in that car or something like that. You can't,
Walker
you know,
County is not the place to go breaking into people's houses and their
no.
cars. That is the
So
last place you want to do that.
I'm telling you right now,
I
man.
love Elizabeth.
In my neighborhood,
That's where I
everybody
live
is
too. That's where
strapped.
I live.
Everybody is strapped, and everybody all around us is
But
strapped.
the good thing about everybody being strapped in Elizabethan is they're not gang members and they're allowed to have their guns and they don't pull them out like for no stupid reason. Now,
No,
if someone's breaking into your car, that's not really a reason to discharge a firearm. But if they're on his land, I get it.
I mean
I grew up on
you don't really know. You don't want to wait
discharge a
until they're.
firearm.
As far as I'm concerned, you don't owe anybody to wait to see what their intention is. If they're trespassing and trying to take your property, like it is not on me to wait and see what your intention is.
Yeah,
I don't need to wait until you try to hurt me to see if that's what you're going to do. Of course, now in most cases, I'm going to tell you just get the hell out of here, and I'm probably going to be armed while I do it. But I'm under no obligation to give you a chance to end me before I decide, that I'm gonna defend myself.
I'm just saying from a legal perspective,
Yeah,
if you shoot somebody in the back, your butt is probably going to jail. You know what I mean?
it just
The
depends. I
threat
mean,
has to be anytime you discharge a firearm or pull it out. If you pull it, first of all, you don't pull a gun out unless you're going to shoot it, unless you have to shoot it for immediate threat of your life or someone else's life. But in Tennessee, we have a castle law, and if somebody's trying to break into your vehicle, um, and here's another thing: if that guy that came out shooting had a gun in his car, if you ask me, that's a pretty good reason to shoot at them
I
because
think so.
if they break into your car and you got a gun in it, which
Then they
I'll
can break into your house with your gun.
and kill you with your own damn gun.
Yeah,
But here's the deal. That's why you don't ever leave your gun in the vehicle. Unless I don't know, unless it's
you got
there's
safes and
there's
stuff
no
built
reason. It
in.
needs to be on your hip or in a safe. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't just leave it in the car. You know what I'm saying overnight. But I'm just saying, who knows? I don't know this guy or how his gun handling procedures are. If he's a nerd about it like I am, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, I could understand. He could. I think an attorney could try to get it across.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
You
Yeah,
know what I
they're
mean? Like, well, he had his gun. He had another gun in his truck. If that guy got in there and got his gun, they could have used his own gun on him.
yeah. I
Plus, that's
mean,
his vehicle.
in this area, you'd probably be all right as long as you weren't shown to have like just terrible intent.
Well, I lived on the farm. We had the farm I grew up on was a 350-acre farm. We had an outhouse, and if you you weren't supposed to be up there. If you weren't kin to us or he knew you were coming or recognized your car, my granddaddy would shoot at people. I saw him do it all the time. He did.
Yeah, now
Because
that's a little crazy, but
they come up.
yeah.
Well, he wasn't just crazy. People come up there. We were having theft issues. People will come up and steal your stuff at night.
Oh
Or
yeah,
just come.
well that's a little different
We
then.
had 3 barns. We had barns, and there was all kinds of farm equipment and stuff went
Okay,
missing.
yeah.
Stuff started
Yeah,
going
if he's not
missing.
just like shooting at random people coming off the road, I retract my crazy treatment statement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I mean, if you weren't supposed to be coming up there and he didn't know who you were, you would get the message real
yeah, that's
quick.
true.
Like, oh, hey, I don't know you.
Yeah.
What you doing here? But if it was somebody that wasn't supposed to be there or a vehicle another issue we would have was like we were talking about earlier, people would come to the bottom of our farm gate and they would throw bags of trash out. They would just throw trash in our friggin' driveway just because there's like a little cul-de-sac area.
Yeah,
You go up
place
the
they could
driveway.
be hidden and do it.
Yeah, Papa would get so pissed. He would get so, I remember it, man. A school bus would drop me off there, but he would get so mad because people would do that. They come throw all that trash out there, and then the dogs come along, and the dogs get into it and drag it everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
can't blame him.
he, if he recognized that car, or he caught somebody dumping trash, then they definitely got peppered. You
Right.
feel me? And they wouldn't do it again.
Right, I guarantee it.
Do it twice. You do it once and get seen. You come back to do it again. That's it.
Well, let's look at this last story here tonight. We got this okay, to be honest guys, this is old news, but we do have confirmation from the House of Representatives Judiciary Committee about something we already knew, that the government was taking our financial data, and we didn't know exactly how they were doing it, but we had leaks, and it seemed to be good information that they were looking for people who were buying things at sporting goods stores, who were even, buying ammunition, who were buying things that were like ivermectin, things that showed that they weren't following the official narrative when it comes to COVID, and they were keeping tabs on these people, and we had that under pretty good authority. But now we've got it. This is from the House Judiciary Committee. And we're going to look at this real quick. It's just now they've got the full report in here. We're just going to read the press release because it sums it up pretty well. If you want to read the full report, you can go to judiciary.house.gov and find it under there. But the new report exposes massive government surveillance of Americans' financial data. So today, the House Judiciary Committee and its Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of Federal Government released an interim staff report titled Financial Surveillance in the United States, How Federal Law Enforcement Commandeered Financial Institutions to Spy on Americans. It reveals alarming evidence of federal law enforcement engaging in broad financial surveillance and prying into the private transaction of American consumers. Okay, now this is the kicker right here. The surveillance, not predicated on specific evidence of criminal conduct, targeted terms and transactions related to core political and religious expressions protected by the Constitution. So they didn't have a crime for which they were searching for a suspect, right? They didn't have a crime and say, oh well, this suspect, we need information on what this person is purchasing so that we can have, we've got evidence that this guy committed this crime, but we need some more to convict him. So we need to get a warrant and surveil this guy and see what he's buying and use this to build a case against him. No, they just up front, they use some of the largest financial institutions in the United States: Barclays, U.S. Bank, Charles Schwab, HBSC, Bank of America, PayPal, and they filtered transactions. They targeted terms like MAGA, Trump, as well as purchases of books, religious texts, firearms-related items, and recreational stores like Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops, and Dick's Sporting Goods. And it says this surveillance extended beyond criminal suspicion, likely encompassing millions of Americans with conservative viewpoints or Second Amendment interests. So yeah, it's obvious that they're looking for conservatives with this, right? I mean, if those are the
CPAC or Donald Trump or Marjorie Taylor Greene or somebody like that, I'm sure.
So
ignorant and really dumb. Any little thing now will get you put on some awesome party list, you know?
Well, remember we always heard about these lists, and I don't know back in the day when I first started into conspiracies, I was like, oh, there was like a red list and a blue list and a yellow list. Like in the blue list, there are people who, they know are there, so they're going to be compliant or not going to be a threat. They're going to do whatever they're told. And then there's like the yellow list, people who kind of swing either way, and but will likely be compliant. And then there's the red list, the people who they know are on their list. And it's like this is an expansion of that red list detail, because I think it's probably changed a lot over the years as different, because the different faction took over the government, and it's all the New World Order. But the neoliberals and the neo-progressives and whatever you want to call these guys, they're a totally different breed from the neocons, even though they have the same kind of, they have the same interest overseas and the same kind of.
They're just gay now. That's the only difference. Just openly gay now. I'm not like trying to dog it. I'm just being true. It's true.
That's pretty much how it is. They just made war gay, right?
They're like literal gay Nazis.
Oh yeah, that wasn't even what I was thinking, but yeah, I think you're right. That's a good way to put it.
It's like a.
They're gonna be
trauma.
They're going to be dropping bombs with like rainbow flags, and they're going to have little glitter, and eggplant emoji shaped bombs dropping down, and oh geez.
You guys look like you use a little democracy.
Oh man, but yeah, so they're watching all of us already. So they're looking, to put us on a list to say these are people, and they also, if you get further into this, it was things like people who were against COVID restriction, because this mostly took place, during COVID when we were at our weakest, because they hit us with these, these traumatic events, and then they take power from us. So, me and Aaron were talking about, this is election year. It's getting crazy already, and it's only March, and summertime is when this gets crazy. And, what is it going to be this year? And I mentioned to Aaron, like, I think they would love to have a trans Floyd event. George Floyd's situation was very useful to, the powers that currently occupy.
Yeah, they never let
Washington.
A good tragedy go to waste.
That's right, and it's like whether they don't have to cause the tragedy. That's what a lot of people don't understand. It's like they can make almost anything that has certain elements into a national story, and they can use that to traumatize you. So things that naturally occur or organically occur, the media just jumps on them, and they basically, as we talked about,
it's the narrative.
Yeah, and in 1978, even William Colby, the CIA director, then said they had 400 people in American newsrooms, and as part of Operation Mockingbird.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So imagine what it is now.
I like him, but he's Tucker Carlson's definitely probably with involved with the intelligence community. I would guarantee it.
Well, I'm pretty sure his parents were tied in somehow.
There's no way he could have, they would have allowed him to go to Russia and to sit down with Putin and all that. They don't just let any Tom, Dick, and Harry do that. They sure as hell wouldn't let Alex Jones ain't gonna go do that. You know what I mean? like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's got to be.
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. Tucker does have connections, but
I'm sure he would go. I'm sure Alex would definitely go, but I don't think they would let him though. That's the point. I don't think the intelligence community would let him do that.
I think they would. To be honest, I don't think he would be as effective even as Tucker was at it. So I think they'd be glad for Alex to go, because then they could just tie him to Putin, and it'd be much easier to tie him to Putin than it would be to tie Tucker to him, as far as saying that he's owned by him or whatever. But let's finish up with. I want to kind of finish up on this story, because as we get into summertime, what's going to happen? That's a good reason to go ahead and keep a real close eye on things. And now, when you have time to prepare. Remember, in COVID, it's like nobody really expected that, but all of a sudden, you couldn't get toilet paper. They're out of Crispix. I couldn't get Crispix for almost 2 years. So it's like all these things that we take for granted.
They took Walmart. They took 24-hour Walmart.
Yeah,
away from us. They never back.
Yeah,
Never.
and all these things that you take for granted went away. So the idea that it can't go away again is naive, I think. So and when you look at the polls, and you're seeing even in national polls run by like progressive news outlets, like Trump is smashing Biden. Nikki Haley
Yeah,
was
it's
trying to say, "Oh, I'm the one to win because Trump's only beating Biden by 5 points, which is barely outside the margin of error. I beat Biden by 6 points or something." So, I mean, for Trump to be that far ahead in the polls this far, they can't allow, and his momentum continues to grow, and but Biden's continues to crumble. I didn't watch the State of Union, but I'm sure it didn't help.
But they're just like they're so openly, brazenly, like they just it's like they'll walk up to you with a lit cigarette and just like burn your arm with it, and then
Yeah.
look you dead in the eyes and tell you, "No, I'm not.
Yep.
No, I'm not burning you. What are you
You're
talking
crazy.
about? You must be crazy. I think you need a mental evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you hollering? Why are you screaming? Because you're burning me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you're burning me." So it's like, your reaction to them burning you is the crime. Do you see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Well, that's what it was with Daniel Penny, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, man. Clown world, upside
Yep.
down world.
Anarcho tyranny is what it's called, because they have the power to enforce any law, right? But they only enforce the ones against people who are regular citizens. They don't enforce the law against the criminals. So basically, it allows the people to continue to ask for more. Like, we need more police, right? But then the police aren't actually arresting the criminals. The police are only arresting the people who want to be left alone, and the criminals are taken advantage of. And when they get fed up and defend themselves, then the police arrest them.
Yep.
But
And then you get people like Waco who are just trying to have their own thing going out in the woods, and we saw how that ended.
mm-hmm. Well, what do you think it's going to be, folks? Let us know in the chat. Let us know by email at the ironmountainhour@gmail.com. Let us know in the comments on YouTube, on X, on Rumble. What do you think is the event? Is it going to be a trans Floyd, or are we going to see, another kind of, crazy event? Is it going to be soft, or are they just going to let Trump have it? A lot of people say Trump.
Gun confiscation, try to do an attempted gun confiscation, which will trigger a civil war. For sure.
There's no political will for that at all, especially after COVID. You had a lot of Democrats even going out and buying guns. It's never been a worse time to try that.
Yeah, but I mean, he said he was going to. He openly said that we're going to ban assault weapons, and like there was a video I saw in Australia. They were treating this guy like he was a terrorist, or he like was human trafficking, and they just like lifted his couch up and he had like a vault with some guns in it. The media was all there, and they're
he had over 1,000 rounds. Like, oh my God, he had a whole, like, I can't believe he only had 1,000 rounds with all the, he had like probably a dozen guns or so. I can't believe he only had 1,000 rounds.
But that's what I'm saying. The original Crocodile Dundee was murdered, but when Australia came and collected their guns, they ended up killing the original Crocodile Dundee. You can look it up if you don't believe me. They killed that dude. He was not giving his gun up.
Yep.
Here's the thing. You got a country where everything, including the friggin' bugs there, will kill you. And they're like, "Oh, sorry, can't have a gun."
I've heard the argument there that's like, people like to use Australia as an example of, well, you don't really have to worry. If you ban guns, it doesn't mean the government is going to, come in and genocide you. Look, Australia banned guns and they didn't. It's like, yeah, but
trampling people with horses during COVID.
Yeah, they got thrown in camps and couldn't leave. It's like, just because they let them out eventually doesn't make that any less tyrannical. They took people against their will and imprisoned them for no crime.
Yeah, it's like those protesters, like people's grandmothers and stuff, who were just like they're eating hot dogs on that day I won't speak of, because I don't want to wind up on that thingy thing that I'm sure I'm already on. But
we're already on it, buddy. This story we just looked at, it tells you that if you ain't on it, you're doing something wrong, buddy.
Yeah, right. You're a clown, rodeo clown, useful idiot. But what these people don't understand is when they take over, they're the useful idiots are the first ones they get rid of.
Yep.
Yeah,
they always put right things like liberals get the
you had the
projectile too.
Well, right before, look what they're doing right now, and history is repeating itself as we speak. They're hyping up the rhetoric, but the modern day, but the Jew is not the Jew anymore. It is, the Christian conservatives, and it doesn't matter if you're white or black. They don't care. If you notice, these leftists, like look at Herman Cain. That dude's a doctor. He's a genius. I wish Herman Cain would have been the president, dude. That guy's like awesome, man. I really liked Herman Cain. But but the problem was he didn't have a little D beside his name. He had an R. So they treat him just like they would any other ones.
It was more that I think than the R, even that he said that people had agency and people were, didn't have to be victims all the time. I like that guy too. He actually seemed like a decent dude, but I mean, I didn't agree with all of his policies, but he seemed like a decent dude. But they mocked him and called him, the C word, and said he's an Uncle Tom and all this thing. And they called Larry Elder.
You know what I mean? Like,
oh, that's Ben Carson. I think that's the doctor. I don't think Kane was. He was a businessman. He was like Godfather's Pizza, which they got a Godfather's Pizza in Greenville. I didn't know about that, but I've never tried that.
He owns Godfather's Pizza.
I think he started it. Herman Cain died. He he died like 2-3 years ago. He died of COVID, and
I didn't even know that. That's horrible. That makes sense as to why I haven't seen it in a while. I was like, what the hell? Like, where, like, what happened to that guy, man?
Yeah, sure enough.
But there were a lot of people who still took the vaccines on the left and the right. They got a lot of people.
Well, I mean, but I guess what it comes down to is like the point you started to make to finish it up there. I think that you were saying is, with somebody like Herman Cain, it's not about skin color. It's about that he's, and I would add to your point that it's not even about the D after his name. It's about that he's a person who points for accountability and individualism and kind of traditional American values and
common sense.
Yeah, more common sense.
He didn't go along with the LARPing, with the gender LARPing.
Yeah.
He didn't go along with that, and they didn't like that at all.
But yeah, so when we get right back down to it, I mean, what do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to be smooth sailing? We're going to have a nice, easy election. Do you think Biden's going to be reelected? Do you think Trump is going to be reelected? Do you think your local community is able to withstand some sort of societal breakdown? Like if we had, if the economy continued to break down like we did in COVID, but then like eventually it recovered and started rebounding and things started picking back up, shipping picked back up. You